A vision is not the same thing as a dream, even though the same word is used to describe both. Hello, my name is Christopher Renstrom, and I'm your weekly horoscope columnist here on Astrology Hub. And this week, I wanted to talk to you about the upcoming Neptune Retrograde on June 25th. Now, the Moon and Neptune are two planets that are very much connected to each other. In fact, when Neptune was discovered in the 1840s and then introduced into the astrological pantheon, it actually took on many of the attributes that the moon, until then, used to rule. For instance, the moon used to rule ponds, lakes, great bodies of water, the ocean. Well, Neptune, being named after the Greek god of the oceans, took on the rulership of the ocean when the planet was used in astrology. The moon used to rule over our unconscious, our dreams, our memories, our feelings, our body. And in many ways, it still does. With Jung's introduction of the theory of the collective unconscious, this idea that we as a species, an entire civilization, share the same dreams in terms of being able to access the same archetypes and symbols and images, well then, the notion of the collective unconscious, the collective dreaming, was then given over to Neptune. When we think of dreaming, for instance, dreaming at night, this is the period of time when we go to sleep, and then the next thing we know, we wake up in the morning if we have a really pleasant night's sleep. We might actually have had dreams, and some of us might be so gifted or skilled as to be able to write those dreams down and keep them in a sort of journal. Most of us, it's usually lights out, consciousness off, until the light switches pop back on again in the morning. Now, for those of us who have had a dream and need to interpret it, well, that's actually the thing that I want to point out as being the difference. You have a dream, it speaks to you in images and symbols, and you interpret it. Maybe you work with yourself or an inner guide or a dream book or maybe a therapist. But the whole idea is that the dream itself has to be decoded, that it carries some kind of information that can't speak to just your conscious mind, and that you have to actively engage in decoding it to get the information for yourself. Okay, so that's a dream. That's not the same sort of dream as, for instance, was the dream that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about in his 1963 speech, I Have a Dream. What Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about in that speech, I Have a Dream, was a vision. All right. It was a vision that was a call to everyone that he was speaking to on that pavilion, to everyone who had gathered in DC to hear him speak. It was prophecy. It was this image that he had of the future. So a vision is not a business plan or a game plan or a to-do list or a list of action steps in order to go ahead and realize your goals, okay? A vision is much more phantasmal, okay? And it speaks to you on a deep and powerful level. Now, the only reason we were able to resonate with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, I Have a Dream, wasn't just because of the cause, and it wasn't just because of the righteousness, and it wasn't just because of the moment he was speaking in. It's because we all have Neptune within ourselves. We all carry the water of Neptune in our horoscopes, and more importantly, in our souls. And that was the thing that was responding to Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, and why his words and the speech itself is still regarded as one of the greatest speeches ever given in the history of the United States of America, because it resonated. It spoke on this very, very powerful level. It inspired and it influenced, but it was also phantasmal. You know, Martin Luther King Jr. did not set down a deadline of, I want to see these action steps taken, and by this time, I want to see all of this taking place. What he was speaking to were our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations. the most treacherous aspects of our personality or our psyche that you can imagine. What can be more treacherous than a hope? What can be more subject to betrayal or disillusionment than a wish? What can be more dangerous than a romantic infatuation? These are the aspects of Neptune itself. It's what makes Neptune so rapturous as a planet, and it's what makes Neptune so treacherous and frightening as a planet as well, because there's this feeling that if we were to follow our hope, or if we were to follow our wish, or if we were to follow this infatuation, this love for another person, or an idea, or a way of life, that we're going to be disappointed. And many times we are. We suffer great disappointment, but somehow we gather back into ourselves again, and we proceed forward no matter what. Now, that might pertain to Martin Luther King Jr.'s beseeching us to follow his dream, just as much as it would pertain to preachers at the turn of the 21st century who spoke of the rapture, who spoke of this coming time in which those selected among us would be lifted up into heaven. Okay, this comes out of the same spirit. Okay, this comes out of the same impulse, the impulse to hope, to wish, to dream, to have a vision of a better future than the world that we are living in right now. So the best way to sort of think of a Neptune retrograde is to think of a wave. If you've ever, I'm sure many of you have been to the beach and walked along the shore. You see the waves crashing on the shore, okay? And I want you to think of waves crashing on the shore and sort of spreading out in all directions as a Neptune direct, okay? This is the visionary energy of Neptune. This is the hopes, the wishes, the illusions that Neptune brings, these aspirations, these visions of a better life, breaking on the shore and spreading in all directions and filling our lives. I don't know if you've had this experience, but for instance, when I sit down and write, I can tell when something has clicked, not because I'm like intrigued with an idea or this is a fascinating concept. I wish I was one of those writers who could just outline something and then like fill it in. No, something happens. I'm writing and then something fills me. It's like an elation or something that's rapturous, and somehow hours go by and I don't even clock them. And when I sort of emerge from this, now I haven't spaced out, I haven't fallen asleep, but it's this kind of high is the best way of describing it. When I emerge from it, there's text on the page, or rather the computer laptop, that's looking back at me. And I can tell that I've gone to that place and I've come back from it. So this is the way that Neptune as a vision fills your life. You're full of this rapture, this elation, this joy, this you can almost smell this vision or idea you have of your future. Okay, well, waves break and they spill across the sand on the beach, but then they begin to retract or draw themselves back again. Some of them may like bubble or pop or maybe even evaporate or get soaked into the sand. But most of all, the wave is drawn back into itself, where it curls back up into another wave and begins its approach again. Now, this idea of being drawn back into itself is what I'm trying to describe to you as an image or the sensation of a Neptune retrograde. There's been this period where Neptune has been direct and it's filled your life, and now it's moving retrograde. It's taking the water away from. Okay, this is something that astrologers often describe as maybe being a period of disillusionment, where we aren't as full of that conviction for the hope, or we're not as committed to the hope or to the dream or to the wish, where we're full of doubt, where we're beginning to wonder if such a thing is even possible. We don't feel the same sort of forward moving energy as we did when Neptune was direct. So Neptune going retrograde is really kind of like this curling wave. The water is being drawn back in to build and move forward again, which is, of course, what's going to happen when Neptune moves direct in December. But before then, I want you, if you feel this kind of like sapping of soul, this loss of vision, this kind of maybe confusion or even disillusionment, like, what was I thinking? Okay, I want you to think a moment about illusion. Illusion is a word that's often used with Neptune, and it's a word that a lot of people don't like. I happen to like illusion a lot. I think it's a very important word. Illusion is our imagination at work. Okay, and nowadays it's not so easy to tell the difference between an illusion or a myth and truth and reality. And so I think adopting a more flexible attitude is a good idea. But I want you for a moment, or to think of this as you engage in your Neptune retrograde. Imagine someone who's lost in the desert. Okay, this person is lost in the desert, and this person sees an oasis shimmering on the horizon. Okay, and this person is full of excitement, like I'm saved. I've been walking around in this desert. It's so hot. I'm so dying of thirst. And there's an oasis shimmering on the horizon. I'm going to trek on out to that oasis, and there I will slake my thirst, and I will be revived. I will be restored. And so the person, slogs on out or marches on out, and then ends up on the, all fours crawling or whatever, trying to get closer and closer to this oasis. And as the person gets closer, this person realizes that it's not an oasis at all, but that it's a mirage that has enticed this person out into the burning sands and to become even more lost than this person was before. And as you can imagine, frustrated, you might sort of like curse your misfortune and say, what a fool I was to believe this. What an idiot. I asked for it. And you might reprimand yourself and get down on yourself and do all these, really dreadful things to make yourself feel bad. Okay. Bad person for believing in this mirage. What a fool, But then let's say this person looks over to their left and sees another oasis shimmering on the horizon. Now, what should this person do? Should this person stay put where this person is, saying to themselves, maybe this is another trick of the mind, this is another way to fool me, this is another way to lead me on or fill me with false hope? Or should this person get on up and go see for himself if this is truly a mirage or not? Okay, this is what I'm trying to impart to you. Illusions work for and against you. In the way that an illusion works for you is that an illusion or a vision can inspire you to try something that you would never have tried before, that you would never have done in a million years. Okay, it can be that thing that guides you, that guides you to leave your home or your family or what's familiar or your day job or the things that you use to define your life, and it guides you, it leads you to walk away from all of that and to follow it. And this may make all the difference in your life. Or it can be something that leads you up the garden path, that leads you to a dead end, that leads you to a false salvation. The only way that you're going to tell the difference, whether it's a vision or a mirage, the only way that you're going to find out if this is something that's truly speaking to you is to get up and to follow it and to go see what it's all about. And that is exactly what you will be doing between now and December 1st, when Neptune comes out of retrograde.
I love the inner circle because it's been a catalyst in transforming my life for the better.
I love the inner circle because it has helped me feel into the energies instead of just think about them.
I love the inner circle because of the positivity and familiarity that's involved in it, as well as the wealth of knowledge and the broadening depth of the collective conscious that it creates.
I love the Inner Circle because it's run by incredibly intelligent, empowered, entrepreneurial women, and almost daily basis providing quality content to help guide people.
I love the Inner Circle because it really helps me stay anchored into this collective process of evolution that we're all in together.
I love the Inner Circle because of the welcoming community. Like when I commented, people were like happy that I was there. And all the lessons too, all the organized lessons. I love Astrology Hub because of that.
I love the Inner Circle because it connects me more deeply with my own experiences and helps me reflect on those through astrology.
I love the Inner Circle because it's a family and it's ongoing learning and it's interaction and you're always learning something new. And if you go back to the same teacher, they're bringing something new each time. And it's the Ohana, it's the family that Amanda's created, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Astrology Hub's Inner Circle, a global online community for monthly forecasts, masterclasses, and spiritual growth led by the world's best astrologers, is now open for enrollment for a limited time. Go to astrologyhub.com/innercircle2021 for more information and to join us today. Your astrology family is waiting.